I've wanted to be a lifeguard for a while, but it was just recently that I finally got the opportunity to get lifeguard certified. I was on swim team for 7 years, wanted to learn how to do CPR and how to respond in an emergency and help people, so lifeguarding seemed like the perfect summer job. So I called to sign up for the class, but before I could do that, I was informed that I had to pass the prerequisite swimming test, which consisted of swimming 12 laps, treading water for 2 minutes without your hands, and diving 10 feet to retrieve a 10-pound brick. So I signed up for the prerequisite test. Come test day, and I was a little worried. I wasn't able to tread water for 2 minutes without my hands despite all the YouTube tutorials I watched and how much I practiced for the past week. And I also wasn't able to practice the brick dive because our pool only goes to 5 feet. But I showed up anyway, and this bald guy that kind of looked like a pirate was the guy assessing me. He first got me to swim 8 laps of freestyle or breaststroke, which I did easily. After that, he had me do the treading water for 2 minutes without my hands. So I took a deep breath, put my hands under my armpits, and started treading. I don't know if it was the adrenaline or something, but I miraculously did it. Then I had to swim another 4 laps, and the last thing I had to do was the brick dive. He brought out the 10-pound brick, chucked it into the deep end, and said, "Okay, go get it and bring it back to the shallow end with it above water." I wasn't allowed to wear my goggles for this one. I started at the shallow end, swam out to the deep end, took a deep breath, and dove. About halfway down to the brick, I realized that I didn't take a good enough breath and I was out of air. But then I thought to myself that I'd come this far and couldn't give up, so I just kept going. I could barely see because the chlorine was stinging my eyes and it was so blurry, but I managed to grab the brick and try to kick back up to the surface as quick as possible before I actually drowned. I gasped for air, but while I was doing that, I choked on a ton of water. My task wasn't done though because I had to bring the brick all the way back. I put it on my chest and started kicking backwards. I couldn't breathe because I still had water in my throat and I kept coughing and eventually started seeing stars because I didn't have any oxygen. I thought this was the end and that I would drown, but I fought my hardest to keep my consciousness and get to the shallow end. Somehow I did. I clambered out of the water in total disbelief. After that near-death experience, the instructor pirate dude muttered an unenthusiastic, "Good job, you passed. You can sign up for the real class now." So I did. Before the class, I had to complete a very boring online portion about lifeguarding that took about 6 hours. I got that done pretty quickly and showed up to class later that week. The first thing our instructor explained to us was that it was a 3-day class and that we had to complete the online portion before the last day of the class started. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to take the final test. More on that later. So we learned all the things we needed to know through PowerPoints and hands-on stuff. We also practiced watch duty and got in the water and practiced different rescues and entries. It was a long weekend because we had class for 4 hours on Friday and 8 hours on Saturday and Sunday. There was this really weird guy in our class though. He kept arguing with the things the instructor said, interrupted her, aggressively started doing push-ups for no reason, and made such a show when jumping in the water for rescue practice. At one point, our instructor was showing us how to use an AED, which is a device used to shock your heart back into rhythm. There's 2 patches on an AED. One of them you need to put on the top right of someone's chest, and the other you need to put on the bottom left. The weird guy asked a question. What happens if the person has a ton of chest hair? Well, it's an emergency, so you wouldn't want to waste a lot of time. But in case it's a situation where the pads won't stick because there's so much hair, there's a razor in the box. Oh, well, I won't have that problem. And then he took his shirt off. Okay, yeah. Right before we left on Saturday, our instructor reminded us that we had to finish the online portion before class tomorrow. Everyone had finished it except for the weird guy. He said, "I'm almost done, I'll just do it tonight." The next day, our instructor asked us if we had all finished it, and everyone said yes, except for the weird guy. He was just staring off into space. "Did you finish it?" "No." Then he went on a rant about how he got home at 5 p.m. yesterday and worked on it until 12 a.m. and he didn't procrastinate, but Module 15 was really long and he wanted to get a good night's rest. Our instructor said, "I'm sorry, but you can't take the test today if you haven't finished the online portion." "Can I just do the online portion right now?" "No, you have to do it prior to today's class because you're going to miss parts of instruction if you're doing the online portion." "So, are you kicking me out?" "I can sign you up for the next class, which is in December, but yes, you will have to leave." "Ugh, that's what my vacation to Colombia is!" Then he started hyperventilating for no reason. "What would have happened if I didn't tell the truth?" "Well, I can still see who completed the online portion or not on my computer." "Well, at least I was honest. Are you sure I can't?" "Yeah, sorry." Our instructor was nice about it and offering alternative solutions, but she was firm. The weird guy was just being rude and making her feel bad for something that was his fault. "Ugh, I'm never gonna be a lifeguard." And then he left. After a few moments of silence, our instructor asked the rest of us, "How long did it take for you guys to finish it?" Our answers ranged from about 6 to 8 hours. So, if he got home at 5 p.m. yesterday and worked on it until 12 a.m., that's 7 hours. The online section is only supposed to take 6. He said he was almost done anyway, so it definitely shouldn't have taken that long. He also had a week before the class to finish it, but he decided not to. He was just lying and blaming everything else as an excuse for not doing it. A few minutes later, our instructor got a call, and guess who it was? Weird guy. "Are you sure?" "Yes, sorry." Ugh! Well, that was awkward. I said to my instructor, "I admire your patience." She said thank you. So we learned some more rescues and practice for the ultimate test. For the final test, this is what I had to do within 1 minute and 30 seconds. I had to enter the water using one of the entry techniques, save a lifeguard pretending to be a passive, unconscious, submerged victim, call for a backboard, get them on it, bring them out, put on my gloves, and get to the CPR dummy. First step, size up the scene. Scene is safe. Shout, "Are you okay?" No response. Call 911 and for an AD. They're on their way. Check for a pulse and breathing. No pulse, no breathing. Give 2 ventilations. Start CPR. That was the hardest part, honestly. Getting everything under 1 minute and 30 seconds was pretty stressful, but I managed to pull it off. Then I had to do CPR continuously for 2 minutes with a cycle of 30 compressions and 2 breaths. Later, I just had to do a group rotation with 2 people on a BVM, 1 on the AED, and a person doing CPR, practice scanning a zone, and completing a 50-question multiple choice test, which I got a 90% on. And I'm proud to say that I passed and I'm now officially lifeguard certified. It was a long and tedious weekend of learning and practice, but it was worth it. The end. Thanks for watching.